$5 a week or 5 million a week, right? These guys play because it's fun, and you got to let them have fun. And practice is a place that you can have fun. I mean, you have to be working, but it's got to be encouraged that they go out there and they do the things that they're capable of doing. They have to create. They have to challenge themselves. It's no different than a defenseman challenging a forward and gapping up, right? The forward's got to learn to challenge the defenseman too. Read what he gives them and take what he gives them and be creative and just do whatever. Like go to open ice, move the puck, skate. I mean, it's just all these little things that guys want to do that you have to let them do and you have to encourage it. And when I go and watch practices of younger teams, I see coaches discouraging that, and it really irks me. They do a drill, it's a flow drill. They don't correct, they don't encourage. I mean, I don't know. I think somewhere we're missing the boat here with letting the kids have fun and enjoy the game and learning the game by just playing it.
Bob, I just wanted to give Tom a chance. His hand is up. I would have to say the master of letting the game teach is what Tom's area is. So, Tom, go ahead.
Well, on my site, I have this quick links place, and I do a series of how you would teach like a one-on-one or this sort of thing. And there's drills and games and transition games, and then tournaments, and you have tournaments. So Horst Wine is the guy that developed the program in Barcelona and all kinds of places. And the first thing he does is he creates a need to know with young kids. So they'll play a game and maybe they can only use their left foot, but they haven't practiced it. And they play games, and then, now you've created a need to know. The kids are struggling, of course, because they've never done it. And then he has what he calls corrective exercises. And they do some drills, to learn how to do it. Then they go back, to playing that game now using their left foot, but now they have a little bit of technique. And that's the basic of how I think the game should be taught. I taught phys ed for a zillion years, and mostly in junior high, but with elementary kids and all this. And when I do my camp in Jasper, we have 15 ice times in a week, and they have 3 ice times in a day, 1 hour ice times. And we alternate between 2 skating and 1 hockey the different days. And we play little games all the time, but we divide the kids into, the ability groups, because we have all age groups there. And they'll play a game and do the same thing. And they play a game, they have to do something. And then in that little group, they practice, a technique. And then they go back to playing the game. And then we'll play King's Court tournaments where they'll play games. Maybe there are different rules at each place, or maybe the same rule, or maybe there's might be a ring or a ball, or different things that they have to use at all the different stations. And the game is kind of the key of everything. Everything comes from the game, because we're teaching a game. We're not teaching the skills. We're teaching the skills to be used within a game. And even in our program that I did with Johanny, it goes through everything. The games, you teach kids the habits as well when they're little kids, like facing the puck. There's a game, you just face the puck. And that's all the coach looks for. Or maybe their stick is on the ice all the time, or they have to take 3 strides, and they're learning that as a 6-year-old, and as well as learning the skills. And that's how I believe. And what I've seen, these great coaches like Johanny, who's an icon in Finland, or Vladimir Yursinov, who is kind of the key guy in all of Russia, and he developed all those guys that are in the NHL right now. And I got to coach with him in Salzburg as well. That's the philosophy that I believe that we should have coaching. So it's a combination of the game to drills, and the advancement of drills is transition games and tournaments and all these sort of things. So it's quite a different way of coaching than Hockey Canada does or whatever. But it's, in my experience, is what works best.
So
that's my
Tom, I
opinion
agree
there.
with you, but how do you sell that to the hockey organizations and get them to buy in?
Oh, Bob, it's really hard to sell because people want flow
Exactly.
drills, right?
Exactly.
Even in my site, when I put on things, I'll put on stuff like that, and then I'll put on a flow drill, and there's 3 times more people that do the flow drill because it looks good for parents. The kids flying around the ice like this, totally unopposed. Like how many total breakaways do you get in a season? Shooting unopposed and this kind of thing, but that's what people like. And
Well, and
I'll,
that's what I'm saying, Tom. And I don't know how we get. I mean, when you go to minor hockey practices and you see the parents have to drive the kids, so they stay to watch, right?
yeah,
And that's what they want to see, and they wondering what the hell are you doing when you're doing a small area drill, and their kids are just having fun. Well, they're not learning to play hockey according to the parents. So how do we get that sold to associations and parents that they have to start from the basics, foundations, and work up? And it never changes right the way through. I mean, you still gotta, as we're talking about Detroit Red Wings, 10 guys in a small area.
I was at that practice and I have the
But that's
video
the
of it.
game.
It's surprising you all.
Bob, that's why we're on this call. We know that. We totally understand that. That's why we have this group attempting to influence the game in a good way to make it better. Um, Richard, in particular, has gone through the bandwagon as long as I have, and we're banging our head against the wall. And fortunately, we have people like Al and Kim on board. They are young and they're in the trenches, coaches, in quotation marks, getting this. That's really important.
Can I
So,
share, Wally, can I share Danny Healy's development? Like
yeah,
I had Danny, I was coaching, his dad helped me coach one year at SAIT in the 80s. And the first time Danny ever went in the ice, he stepped on the ice. I gave him a free hockey school, so Murray took it for sure. And he fell down, he cried. And he said, I don't want to play hockey. And then what happened with Danny, he wasn't a great skater, but he was good. And we let him play with us on Sunday mornings because he passed the puck. And most kids, when they play, they just, hang on to the puck forever. Nobody wants to play with him. But he played every Sunday morning with us for years. And then when he got to about 14, 15, and we also play all summer on Tuesday nights, we call it popcorn hockey because we go out and have beer and popcorn after. He played that all the time. And then he got too good for us. So what we said is, okay, you have to have 2 assists for every goal you score. So, that helped him, see the ice and all this kind of stuff. And he did that for, I don't know, he was still doing that when he was playing at Wisconsin, coming and play with us. And, but it was the game, the key thing with Danny is he played the game and he played, there were a lot of guys that were pretty good players in our group. And, and he just played the game better. And I remember watching him play in the World Juniors, and Canada wasn't very good in the 90s there. And he would pass a puck and never get it back. It was just pulling my hair out watching it because we didn't play the game very well at that point. And, but he learned to play the game by playing the game. And so I'll shut up now, but I just wanted to share that.
Al, then Kim.
From our side with the little kids, I think you plant the seed for, can you hear? Yeah. I think you plant the seed in practice, right? So you let them try different things, you play, you make it about having fun and encourage their creativity in the practice. But I think I honestly, like with the youth, at least at our level, I think you either reinforce it in the games or you kill it in the games. And, for us, like an 8U game, like honestly, I mean, as long as the kids are competing, what does it matter if they win, really? From our perspective, like as long as we're teaching them to compete, that's more important than whether we actually win the game. So if a kid tries something and, gets the puck taken from them and the other team scores, is it really that big a deal? And I think a lot of people's first instinct is to correct that mistake, right? But, it may be a situation where the kid had the right idea, but the execution wasn't there because they're 8, right? And I've seen this lots and lots of times. I actually had one kid one time, because we're using the iPad, this was a few years ago when I first started using it. We were playing a game, and, the kid made a bad pass to somebody else, and whatever. He tried to make a move and made a bad pass. And I was showing it, and I was saying, well, here's what you're seeing. Maybe you could try, passing this guy. And he's like, well, I did try to pass it then. And I went back and I looked, and I totally missed it. But he just, he's a little kid. He didn't execute it properly. He saw what he should do, but then he actually did something else because the execution wasn't there, right? So we had a little conversation about that, and that was good. And that's one of the things that kind of started encouraging me to ask the question as opposed to telling them. It's just that one little thing, because you don't know sometimes what they're thinking. We had another kid this season early on where he tried to do something really creative, but he happened to do it right in front of our own net. And somebody took the puck off him and scored a goal, immediately. And I bit my tongue. I was saying it, I was watching this, and it actually happened to be my own son. And I just kind of bit my tongue, and he came off and said, oh, pat him on the back, no big deal. We'll get it back, that kind of thing. And I've seen him now do that same move and beat players probably 20 times over the course of the season, where he's doing the same thing, and it's a transition from backwards to forwards, and he's putting the puck underneath their stick and making a breakout pass, which I could have killed in a second if I would have got on his case the first time it happened. Right. So I think it's a lot of how we as coaches, especially at the little kids, like how we treat the games and how we react to certain situations, because they all make a lot of mistakes, and sometimes we don't know what their intent was, and sometimes that mistake could actually have been something that we would want to encourage.
Al, thanks very much. I got another